Alright, so before we go ahead and start our install, we're going to need the image to install. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up a internet browser. You're going to want to go to either type this in Google or up in the address bar. You want to go to ubuntu.com. .com. Right. So as soon as this page starts up, you're going to want to go to Downloads. Where this tutorial is going to be on the Ubuntu Server. And then I'm going to pick the 32-bit because I find the 32-bit works a little bit better inside VirtualBox, especially when you're using a dynamic hard drive. Okay, so we're going to save it. And I am going to start the download here. And I will be going to pause the video at this time. You may as well do the same, and we'll wait for this to download. And remember the location that you download this into, because it will be very important when we go to do the install on the VirtualBox. Alright, so now that we've got it downloaded here, I know exactly where that is in my download folder. And let's just let us move it to the desktop. Okay. Alright, so we're going to close out of all these windows, and we are finally going to fire up our Ubuntu here. So we're going to click on it. I'm going to, once this window comes up, I'm going to click Next. Now this is where you choose where your desktop is, and there's my image. I'm going to click Open. So there we go. So the media source was the Ubuntu source, the ISO. I'm going to click Next, and Next again, and then it is going to fire up. Alright, so I speak English, install Ubuntu Server, and I'm just hitting Enter on the keyboard. That's all that is really required at this point. Alright. Alright, so going to hit Enter again. I am in Canada, but I'm just going to choose USA. Okay, now in this option here I can either go to yes, and then it makes me hit a few key commands on my keyboard and finds out exactly what my keyboard type is, but I know that I have a USA keyboard. So yeah, English USA and USA, and then it's going to start. So like I say, I'm going to pause it from time to time just to speed up the install. So it'll be going through a bunch of different configuration, network setups, and stuff like that. So here we go. Now we can name what our server is going to be, and I'm just going to keep it the way I have, Ubuntu with a capital S here. And then you can do Tab or just hit Enter. So I go Tab and it goes to continue, or you can just hit Enter. It'll keep going. Username. I'm just going to call it server. Enter. User account, yes, enter, and then put in your password. Make sure it's one that you can remember. Write it down, I'd suggest that. Retype your password. And there we go. Okay. And then I don't want it encrypted, so alright. Alright, so here is the time zone, and that's close enough. That's within my time zone. If you would have picked no, then you could have gone through a list of cities and probably found the city that you live in. It does go by the clock on your PC, so you may want to check to make sure it's correct. Alright, so yeah, we're just going to use the GUI use entire disk and set up LVM. And that is the disk. If you had multiple hard drives, you could actually install it, make a different partition on a different disk. And away we go. Okay. And I'm going to agree to this before it creates this. Okay, so this is in the VirtualBox how much space I allowed it to have. So that's what it's going to be. Now, there are some installs that people do, and they actually break down their partitions within their files, their folders that are within Ubuntu, but I'm not going to do that. I find this works just perfectly fine for my needs. Alright, so here are the changes that are going to be happening to the partition table, and I agree. The wonderful thing about doing a lot of the work on VirtualBox is that if you do make a mistake, you're not redoing a computer over and over again. When I first started in Linux, I actually was using a PC without doing it in VirtualBox, and I had to reformatted that PC like 3 times a day. But this makes it so much easier. When I do testing on software with Samba, web stuff, and certain little bit of stuff that I'm not sure of, I'll run it in a VM first before I run it on my my main Ubuntu server, which is currently running the Blip Tips website. And runs actually my home automation and my my control system for my media center in my house. And it's a 6-year-old computer running about maybe 1.5 gigs of RAM, and it does a lot of work. And Linux allows it to kind of be unleashed. I did build a kernel for it that does turn off a lot of stuff, and we will go through that in one of my tutorials on building kernels and stuff. But first, let's get through this one, and then we're going to go through the setup of a website. We're going to set up the Ubuntu, not the Ubuntu. We're going to start up Apache. We're going to start up my PHP admin, and doing a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be a great tutorial, so stay tuned. So like I say, I'm just going to pause it from time to time so it does speed up the video. Alright, so I'm not going to have any proxy settings, and so we're going to keep moving along. Now this process does take a bit of time, but really, it doesn't take overly that long. It should take you about 45 minutes to do this full install depending on your computer. Now you can have it so it does automatic updates. I do my updates manually. Basically anytime I do an install or anything, I'll show you in this tutorial on how to do updates. So I'm going to keep mine at no. Alright, now for the fun stuff. For right now I'm going to leave all these blank. One of the first things that I do though, whenever I do an install of any type, I always do the open SSH. Just that way I can remote with programs like Putty and stuff like that. So I am going to hit the space bar. You can arrow key up and down to make it go up and down, but I'm going to use the space bar. Leaves a little star, and then I'm going to hit tab and then enter. So what this is going to do now is install the components for the SSH. Alright, so it seems that this is the only operating system on this partition, which is true because it's one we created. So I'm just going to click yes to that. Alright, so now it's telling us to eject our media device and stuff like that. So since it is VirtualBox, we do not have a virtual disk in, or well, we have nothing in, so VirtualBox will take it out. Alright, so all we're going to do is hit continue. And then it's going to finish the install and reboot. And here we go for the reboot. Now sometimes for the first time running, this does take a bit of time. Alright, so here we are with the login, so I'm going to type in server. Oh, gotta make sure I'm on the right one here. Server. And then my password. Well, it doesn't look like there's a password being entered, but there is. And there we go. We are now within our Ubuntu system. So we've successfully installed the Ubuntu 12.04.1 LTS server. When I come back, the next tutorial is going to be on how to install the Ubuntu desktop over top of this, but we'll do a few updates and a few tweaks before we do that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be right back with more.